Let's talk about Justin Herbert and the Los Angeles Chargers. One of the best coaching jobs of the season has been by Coach Harbaugh, Greg Roman, and Jesse Minter. This was a Chargers team last season that missed the NFL playoffs. Yes, because you were dealing with injuries on the offensive line, and Justin Herbert was dealing with a hand injury, and he wasn't able to go out there and play the entire season. And they could not run plays from under center. When you're dealing with a finger injury, you have to go out there and run more shotgun because you can't take those snaps from under center. But with all that being said, Brandon Staley was a terrible head coach. They go out there, they bring in Coach Harbaugh, who had a lot of successful years with the San Francisco 49ers. This is a dangerous playoff team. The Chargers just went out there, they just clinched a playoff berth. They just had a great win over the New England Patriots. They defeated them 40-7. And I'm not going to come on here and say the Chargers, they're a Super Bowl bound team. I'm not going to say that, but they're going to be a headache for every team in the AFC and the NFL playoffs. And I'm going to tell you why. For the first time in Justin Herbert's career in the NFL, they've given this man a consistent run game with J.K. Dobbins when he's been fully healthy. And J.K. Dobbins missed the last couple of games dealing with a knee injury. But when J.K. Dobbins has been fully healthy, he's been one of the better running backs in the NFL this season. And it's a feel-good story for J.K. Dobbins. This is a man that suffered numerous injuries with the Baltimore Ravens. But when he was on the field, he was a very good running back. He comes over to the Ravens, and Greg Roman is a former offensive coordinator for that organization. Puts in a great word for him with Coach Harbaugh. He comes over to the Chargers, and he's been the heart and soul of this offense on a week-in and week-out basis. Gus Edwards is also a former player with the Baltimore Ravens, who Greg Roman got to see up close and personal. Now, Gus Edwards is not the explosive player that J.K. Dobbins is, but when you need 3 to 4 yards, you go to Gus Edwards, and you saw him rip off a major run against the Denver Broncos last week against one of the best defenses in the NFL. And you look at Justin Herbert, it opens up everything else with Justin Herbert. So many times since Justin Herbert has been drafted, they go out there and they say, hey, Justin Herbert, save us. Austin Ekeler was a very good running back, but Austin Ekeler could not run the football in between the tackles. So 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 3, you weren't going to go out there and pick that up by running the football with Austin Ekeler. You can pick those yards up with Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. But when we go back a couple of years ago, even last season, Justin Herbert, go out there and save us with your arm. And you saw Justin Herbert put up great numbers. The man would have 38 passing touchdowns to 9 interceptions on the season. Those are MVP type numbers. But you're not going to win many football games by doing that if you don't have an effective run game. So Coach Harbaugh comes in his first year. Let's get the run game going with 2 dominant running backs in our backfield. Instead of going out there in the first round and selecting a wide receiver like Malik Neighbors, let's go and select a can't miss tackle in Joe Alt. Coach Harbaugh came out and said that he views offensive linemen as weapons, the same way as some offensive coordinators may view tight ends, wide receivers, running backs out of the backfield as weapons. That's how Coach Harbaugh views the offensive line. He loves to run the football. We saw this with the San Francisco 49ers. And if you watch college football, you saw this last year in Michigan. JJ rarely went out there and threw the football at Michigan because they ran the football at a high clip. And that's what the Chargers want to do. But this is a very interesting situation. No disrespect to Alex Smith. No disrespect to Colin Kaepernick. Colin Kaepernick made a Super Bowl appearance with the San Francisco 49ers over a decade ago. No disrespect towards him. This is the best quarterback talent that Coach Harbaugh has worked with in the last couple of years of his career, dating back to the San Francisco 49ers, and definitely in the college level. Justin Herbert has shown this season when the run game isn't going and when those wide receivers are struggling to separate, he can take off with his legs and he is throwing wide receivers open. It's impressive to throw the football to Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. Those guys at the time could create separation. Even when they were dealing with injuries, I saw Justin Herbert go out there with Josh Palmer and DeAndre Carter and make those guys like number 1 and number 2 wide receivers on a consistent basis. Justin Herbert has been in the NFL playoffs before. He knows his scenery. The Chargers are going to be so annoying to stop because they have a do-it-all offense. It just comes down to certain situations. The interior of the offensive line, they have struggled in the past, but over the last month, they have looked better. They are still not a top-tier unit on the inside of that interior, but they're going to be okay. When I look at those tackles, that is where the offensive line is made with Joe Alt and Rashawn Slater, 2 phenomenal players. The wide receiving position, Ladd McConkey has been a top wide receiver in the NFL this year, and he's just a rookie. He's going to only continue to get better. Quentin Johnston, compared to last season, good season for him. He still struggles with drops, and he wasn't worthy of that first-round pick. I'm sorry to say it. The guy looks like a third, fourth round pick at best. Not a bad football player. He is so frustrating because he does everything right except catch the football. He can go down there and get open deep down the field. He's not a 50-50 ball wide receiver, but he has the body to be a 50-50 ball wide receiver. He's more so shallow cross, deep ins, deep outs, post routes. That's what he is. He has to catch the football in crucial situations in the NFL playoffs. They lost that game to the Baltimore Ravens Monday Night Football a couple weeks ago because of Quentin Johnston. It wasn't all on him, but majority of it was. Those drops hurt them. When you're in the NFL playoffs and you're facing a team like the Baltimore Ravens or the Steelers, Denver Broncos, Kansas City Chiefs, whomever, you have to catch the football on 3rd and 6. And Quentin Johnston has the speed to go out there and pick up 7 to 8 yards for only a 2 to 3 yard catch. That's the type of abilities that he has. I'm just worried about him, but hopefully he can continue to grow and develop as a player. But you have Ladd McConkey, you have Quentin Johnston. DJ Chark, he rarely gets on the field. It's really no reason to even bring him up. When he does get on the field, they don't target him that much. And he spent majority of this season on IR anyway. Josh Palmer has been a very good football player. You may look at a guy like Josh Palmer and just shrug your shoulders and say, what is he going to do to our team? He can do a lot. He's one of those guys that you look at, you don't expect for him to beat you over the top. He can. As I record this video, 543 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. He's averaging 15 yards a catch. Will Dissly was able to come back in the Patriots game. He's a top receiving threat with the Chargers, and you have Stone Smart. I would love to see Greg Roman use 2 tight ends with this team, especially in goal line situations. Stone Smart is a former quarterback and wide receiver when he was in college. This is a man that has very good athletic ability. Will Dissly is more so to do it all tight end. Can go out there and catch the football, short yardage situations, and is going to block off the edge. Everywhere he has been in his career, he's been a known blocker. This is the most receiving yards that he's put up in his career. A lot of that is because of the lack of depth at the wide receiving position, and also because Will Dissly has just become and elevated himself to being a top-tier receiving tight end just with this team. And it's impressive to see. The offense is far from perfect, but it's a playoff caliber offense. This is what most offenses are going to do in the NFL playoffs. They're going to run the football, run their offense through their tight ends, and try to get their guys in open situations with Ladd McConkey and Quentin Johnston. And Ladd McConkey, he may require double team coverage at this point. And I go back to a couple games this year with the Chargers. They lost to the Kansas City Chiefs not once, but twice. And I'm not going to come on here and say that they suck, they can't beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that they can. They lost to the Chiefs 10-17 the first matchup. You didn't have your 2 starting tackles, and Justin Herbert was on a sprained ankle. And not to make any excuses, you still lost the game. But it's just to add context there. A healthy Justin Herbert, your 2 top tackles are able to play. I think you can give the Chiefs a run for their money. That was the first encounter. In the second matchup, they lost to the Chiefs 19-17. And it came down to a game-winning field goal by the Kansas City Chiefs kicker. In that matchup, you did not have J.K. Dobbins, and you did not have your best wide receiver, Ladd McConkey. A fully healthy Chargers team could go out there and really compete with the Chiefs and possibly defeat this team. Coach Harbaugh and Jesse Minter, they put their heads together and they're figuring out a game plan for Patrick Mahomes. And I'm not trying to hype up the Chargers and say that they're going to go out there and beat every single team in the NFL playoffs. But this is the true thing about the NFL playoffs. We have seen teams go out there that are quote unquote significantly weaker than everyone else in their field. And they made deep playoff pushes. Look at the Giants many years ago, not once, but twice. They went on the Cinderella run and they defeated the Patriots 2 times in the Super Bowl. Crazy, but it happens. And the Chargers, they have that blueprint right now. When I look at the defense with the Chargers, you have 4 edge rushers that can go out there and get to the quarterback. You have Thule, Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, and also Bud Dupree. All 4 of those guys can get to the quarterback, and they have a rotation there. Especially on 2nd and 3rd down, they can get to the quarterback and they can bring you down. Defense and the run game is going to be the key to victory for the Chargers in the NFL playoffs. Because when I look at the Steelers, even in that matchup, Justin Herbert was dealing with an ankle injury. And then both the tackles went out in that matchup and they lost to the Steelers. Granted, they had Justin Fields, but they lost to the Steelers. They were in that game going into halftime. So when I look at some of those early losses, when people like to bring up they can barely beat teams over 500, you can say that, but let's look at the full context here. The Chargers were not 100%. And I'm not going to make the excuse they're a rebuilding team on the offensive end. You made the NFL playoffs now. No one cares about that rebuild narrative. When you make the big dance, your goal is to go out there and win the Super Bowl or even contend for the Super Bowl. That's your main goal here, especially with a quarterback talent like Justin Herbert. But don't sleep on this Chargers team. Coach Harbaugh has been here before. Greg Roman has also been here. He helped Lamar Jackson win his first MVP, was a very good offensive coordinator for the Ravens in the beginning portions of Lamar Jackson's career. Then that fizzled out. He took some time away from the NFL. He helped out Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick. So he's been a veteran presence in the NFL playoffs. And the same with Jesse Minter. And we look at the rest of this defense, that secondary is legit. When you look at Christian Fulton, who has been elite this year when he's been able to play. The same with Cam Hart, two very good cornerbacks. Derwin James looks like his former self, who was a major headhunter on the field. He's able to go around there, pick up running backs out of the backfield, guard and cover tight ends. He did a very good job on Travis Kelce in the second matchup. Granted, Jesse Minter put him in no man's land towards the end of that game. Do you want Patrick Mahomes to run for 3 yards, or do you want him to just throw it to Travis Kelce for those 3 to 4 yards? And he picked Travis Kelce. You just throw the football to him. I'm not going to let Patrick Mahomes go out there and run for extra yardage. Unfortunately, that's a bad situation. Situations like that, Jesse Minter cannot put his players in those type of scenarios. You don't want to see that in the NFL playoffs, especially with how quarterbacks are able to run and extend plays in today's game. But you have that pass rush. You have this secondary that's able to lock down. Your linebackers are very good against the run. You look at the interior of this defensive line with Poona Ford, who's a very good defensive tackle. He does not get enough love. Morgan Fox is very good in his own right. You have good players here, and you have a veteran presence. Khalil Mack has been here before. The same with Joey Bosa. The same with Derwin James. It's important to have those veteran players on your team so they can help out some of those younger players on the back end. I will say this. I am worried about the safety position with the Chargers. They do depend a lot on their safeties. They would put 3 safeties on the field at times. They haven't done that as much within the last month because of the injuries that they've been dealing with. Gilman, this is a man that's a very good safety. He's been dealing with a hamstring injury. He's been on IR for a month now. The safety position is so thin, they had to call in Marcus May. And Marcus May right now is dealing with an injury. He's on IR. They had to bring in Eddie Jackson. And everyone knows this about Eddie Jackson. This stage of his career, he should not be touching the field. I don't care how good of a coach Jesse Minter is. I saw the man with the Baltimore Ravens. He was not a good player this year. But you have Derwin James, you have Elijah Molden. Elijah Molden did leave the game against the New England Patriots dealing with a shin injury, but he is scheduled to be okay for the NFL playoffs. This is why next week, you go out there. You don't care about seeding. You're not going to host a playoff game at home. You didn't win your division. The Chiefs did. The Chiefs are 15-1. You're going to go out there, rest all your starters. Put in Taylor Heineke. It's not going to hurt for him to go out there and earn his game check. He was able to come in for a couple snaps this year anyway against the Steelers. You play Taylor Heineke. He came in the Chiefs game when Justin Herbert got dinged up and he was able to come back in just a couple plays later. You start Taylor Heineke. You start those backups. I look at a guy like Quentin Johnston. He may need the reps to go out there and just work on his catching. And I'm being serious here. He may need live game reps to go out there and work on catching the football in crucial situations. You may want to play him. But everyone else, you sit those guys down, especially with Justin Herbert and J.K. Dobbins, because he missed those last couple of games. You sit him down with Gus Edwards, and you see what you have in the NFL playoffs. But it's a realistic chance the Chargers could go out there and win a playoff game or two. They should have to be fully healthy. And this offense can go out there and they can produce on a weekly basis. And Justin Herbert can go out there and he can deliver the football on a dime like how he has been over the last month. The Chargers could be a sleeper team in the NFL playoffs. But you can make the case right now that Coach Harbaugh and what he's been able to do this season, you can say that he could be possible coach of the year because this was a terrible situation last year with the Chargers and Brandon Staley. But let me know in the comment section below how you guys feel about the Los Angeles Chargers and do you believe that they are a dangerous team in the NFL playoffs? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless.